I can't tell you enough that this is probably, to me anyways, one of the biggest barriers to truth and reconciliation is this fear that non-Indigenous teachers have about doing this work. So it's really important that we recognize and talk about the fears, and we learn to work together to move past them. So, are the following statements true or false? It is critically important for non-Indigenous educators to investigate the current, I use the fancy words, epistemological and pedagogical paradigm that guides BC's education system. So ways of learning and ways of teaching. Is it critical that we have an understanding about the paradigm that we work within? True or false? True. Absolutely. We call it BC's curriculum. We don't call it BC's Western European curriculum. And I think it's really important that if there is going to be a paradigm shift, that we actually label it for what it is. And that way we can actually look at, okay, we're working within this framework. We have Indigenous peoples who have many different frameworks. So how are they similar and how are they different? And until we really begin to talk about the fact that we are in a Western European framework, we oftentimes Indigenous knowledges just get added into the existing curriculum. And they're different frameworks. All right, true or false? It is critically important for non-Indigenous educators to do their homework, to understand the colonial past with the colonial present in the context. True. True, absolutely. And I took this headline, this came out October 11th. This was a recent court case. So Supreme Court ruled Ottawa has no duty to consult with Indigenous people before drafting laws. If you've done your homework and you have the knowledge about the colonial history of Canada, you'll know that in 1763, the Royal Proclamation was signed. And that from that time forward, whether it's the colonial government or the Canadian government, has a duty to negotiate on a nation-to-nation basis. So this goes against Canada's own laws. So again, if you're not aware of that history, you're not going to understand that this is another example of how colonialism is very strong in 2018. True or false? There are no appropriate resources for non-Indigenous educators to use when bringing Indigenous knowledges into the classroom.
False.
False. Absolutely. Case in point. As I remember it. It's a very good tool. But oftentimes, again, that there's people who have that fear around, well, I'm not Indigenous, I don't have the right to, I shouldn't. But there are ways about going and getting resources that are appropriate and respectful. So I think this is the last question. Educators should do the following when researching resources for the new curriculum. A, Wikipedia it. Why are you laughing? B, use stories and information brought forward by Indigenous peoples. C, look for copyright information, and if it's not there, you're using information anyway. D, look for copyright information, and if it's not there, ask for help. Or E, ask Indigenous students. I'll give you a second. I won't do what I do with my students around, like taking learning risks and all that stuff. I'll just tell you the answer. Okay, I put D, look for copyright information, and if it's not there, ask for help. By looking for the copyright information, you are, for the most part, avoiding using stories and information inappropriately. You're not, because oftentimes, I've had guest speakers come to my school, and the teacher says, that story that I was told, like, it was so amazing, I really want to use it in my classroom. Did you get permission? No, I didn't. Okay, then you can't use it in your classroom. Obviously, don't Wikipedia it. In the high school, I've had students, Indigenous students, who have been put on the spot by their teachers, saying basically, oh, so-and-so, you're Indigenous, what do you think about such and such? And for students who may not actually identify to their classmates either, for numerous reasons, won't necessarily have the answers. Students are not to be expected to be experts about all Indigenous issues. So looking for copyright information is really important, and I'll show you an example in a second. But also, if you're not sure if it's copyrighted, ask for help. So with the Vancouver School Board, we have the Indigenous education team. So we have somebody named Robert Clifton, who's our educational consultant. He is somebody that teachers can go to ask, is this an appropriate resource that I can use in my classroom? So on the website, so this is from the Make and Cloud story. So you can see right here is the copyright. So this traditional story is part of the oral traditions of the Tla'amin Nation and other Indigenous peoples, and is their cultural and intellectual property. It is interpreted by Elder Elsie Paul. So again, because Elsie has given permission for people to use this work, you have it, but you're not going to retell the story in your own words or make your own version of it. You're going to use the video of Elsie Paul telling the story because it's copyrighted. So I just really wanted to show you quickly. So connecting it to the curriculum has been a journey in and of itself. So when I first read, I kind of forgot, especially in secondary, that for like English from grade 10 to 12, for grade 10 there's like, how many courses now available?
5 or 6.
5 or 6, so there's like 5 or 6 in grade 10 and grade 11 and grade 12. Same with social studies. So as I was going through, I basically had like 200 pages of curriculum connections, which I think freaked everyone out, to be honest, and trying to figure out a way to make it accessible for folks. So the way that it's looking right now, so I just did a kindergarten example and grade 9.
And it's too bad you guys can't, so there's lines between them all.
Yeah.
Turn the light off, just so, because it's not very easy to see.
Yeah.
Does that help? Not really.
Nope. There are lines here.
Oh, I see, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a diagram, but
Yeah.
for some reason the lines are completely not visible in the projection.
Yeah. So we thought about it 2 ways. So again, my fear is of, and again, I've been guilty of this. You're going through and you're wanting to fulfill the requirements of the curriculum, and you go and you look and you think of a resource, and you're like, okay, boom, 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 check mark, great, I can use this in my classroom. Trying to avoid that, because by doing that very quickly, you're not taking the time for the transformational listening, and also that time for you to change as a human being by learning about what Elsie Paul has to teach. So we thought about it in 2 ways. So taking the big ideas and then linking it to a particular page. So this is kindergarten language arts. So these 3 pieces, through listening and speaking, we connect with others and share our world. Curiosity and wonder leads us to new discoveries about ourselves and the world around us. Stories and other texts can be shared through pictures and words. So, and then it would link to the colonialism page where you can read. And also because as educators we have autonomy, you would be taking your own lens about what to bring forward to your classes. So that's the one way. And then the other way that has been mocked up is, this is grade 9 language arts. So it's sort of the flip. So you have the different slices. So this is within territory, so it's linked to the big ideas, the curricular competencies, and the content. And then as you scroll down, the different, again, curriculum connections are highlighted. So I think we're going to be asking for feedback.
We are, and that is one of our core questions about whether teachers would prefer to go from basically a table of contents from the digital book, which is what you see here, like the pages, and then each time you hover over a page with your mouse, you would see all of the curricular connections, the competencies, content, and big ideas as relevant for that page, for that grade and subject. Or if teachers really, if that's going to make teachers feel overwhelmed, and if what teachers need, despite the risks, is going from very specific curricular competencies, big ideas, and content listings to page citations within the digital book. And we're also exploring whether it's possible to make the guide go in both directions, because I think that ideally would just offer teachers the choice of where to start. Person who has to build it finds that more time-consuming. And so obviously it's ideal to have it go in both directions, but how important is that, in terms of what else might or might not go into the site, we're making that decision. And as Liz said, you'll hear about it from Deanna and Sophie too, but we're hoping to invite really all of you to have an advanced advance teacher's copy of the book when it's ready before it's released, and if you'd be interested in giving some feedback on it. So sometime after Christmas, the thing will be kind of ready to get some feedback on. You could have your, you could have it ahead of time and get a look at it, and then also we would just at that point be working on finalizing things. We would love some feedback from people who are knowledgeable about this, such as yourselves. It is going to be a free, I don't think I mentioned this, it's probably pretty important, it's a free open source resource. So there's no fee for teachers to use it. So teachers will have to, let's say, use their own lens to figure out how to bring information in. It's not a textbook, there's like a ton of, way more here than any single teacher would probably use. But so it'll be up for teachers to curate their own information from the digital book to use in their classroom. And so the teacher's guide will be really important in that respect, I think.
So yeah, that's about it right now. Do you guys have any questions?